So the chapter opens up with Natsu returning to his house, which hasn't been utterly destroyed at all. It's in the same exact condition as it was when he left. How convenient. Everyone returns to Magnolia, and Lucy is showering, and we get some nice fan service of her sexy body all over the place, and then she herself is giving us information as she talks to herself alone in the bathroom about how it's been a while since her and everyone else have been back, and that she got her house back. Just so happened, no one moves into Magnolia, I guess. People just, they leave and then their houses are just vacant, and then they can move back if they want because, you know, real estate sucks, I guess. Then she's telling us about how they're back in Magnolia and how she got her house back and how she hasn't been back in a really long time and how the guilds are all back together, and, you know, she's doing all this and she's washing herself, and then it's all very nice and sexy and whatever. And then, just, you know, like old times, almost exactly the same panels, like, except just the art is different. Like, the art's gotten better. Natsu's sitting on the couch and then eating Lucy's food, and then Happy is there also, and then Lucy's like, this is my personal space. That's what the translation says. She's freaking out, and then she goes to kick him, like, get the hell out of my house. And she said, I told you, like, not to come in here, uninvited. And then, instead of actually her kicking him in the face and then, you know, blasting him through the wall, he catches her foot, and then he's like, yep, that's not gonna get me this time. You know, you should have probably, you know, saw this coming the last, like, 4 times you've done it. Like, you've done it, like, so many times. Like, you know, you just break into her house. So he catches it, and then, you know, she's still in her towel after taking a shower because Lucy doesn't take clothes. She just, you know, wraps herself in a towel, and then she's like, I'm gonna walk around in my house, you know? I mean, that makes sense. But, and then, so he's holding her upside down, and then he's like, and he's like, we have a mission. And then Lucy's like, what? We have a mission? And then the towel falls down, and then she's naked, and then Natsu's like, oh. His face is so funny. He's like, oh shit. And then nothing happens, and then it just cuts to, like, the next scene where they're at the site of the guild, the crumbled guild, and they're rebuilding it. They're working to rebuild it. And then they cut to Gray. We're doing some, you know, sexy housework and, like, hammering in those nails, and then Juvie is, like, handing him the nails with her water, and then he's like, I prefer if they were dry. And then we cut to Romeo and his dad, and then Jet and Joy, and they're just like, I heard that they're all talking about how at first it's like, oh, I heard that they were living together, and then it just escalates, and it's like, I heard they were married, I heard they had kids, I heard that, and then Jet's like, I heard that there was a person on the side, I heard that Erza was seeing Gray on the side, and then I was just like, what the fuck? So they're basically acting like the fandom, and then Grace like, your imaginations are running wild, and then we cut, and then we see Lisana, and she's passing out drinks to everyone, refreshments, and then she says that she was a waitress. She worked as a waitress with Mira during the year. And then Happy's like, did Elfman work as a waitress too? And then he's like, there's like a little image of him like as a waiter, and then he's like holding like a plate of drinks, and then he's like, this is manly. And then Lisana's like, no, he was off training, doing his own thing. And then Natsu's like, oh, he was training, I want to see what you can do. And then they start fighting. Before they start fighting, it cuts to Wendy and Levy and Mira, and they're all sitting there talking. Levy is looking over some documents, and then Wendy's like, oh, what are those? And then she's like, oh, well, we're just going over the gist of, like, what the paperwork needed to be given to the Magic Council, so Fairy Tail can actually be like an official guild instead of like she said that if they don't officially register, then they're basically a dark guild. So she said that her and Gajeel were like planning this since like the Fairy Tail disbanded or whatever. So that's pretty easy, very convenient. Again, everything seems very convenient. And then she's like, oh, and then she says, But we're all like ignoring the elephant in the room, and then Mira's like, you should just ignore elephants. She's like, well, you shouldn't let elephants bother you. It's like, thanks, Mira, for your like very helpful advice. And then she says the 7th Guildmaster, and then it goes to Romeo's dad, who was like the 8th, the 5th Guildmaster, the 7th Guildmaster. I don't even know. I guess it's not even like official because Makarov is the 6th, unless Makarov was the 4th. And then Romeo's dad became the 5th, and then Makarov became the 6th again, and then it's the 7th one. I think that could be what's happening. I'm not sure. I can't remember. And then they start talking about how he was like, yes, if you ask me, I'll be the Guildmaster again. And then Romeo was like, yeah, Dad, no. And then Wakoba's like, why don't we just have Guildarts? That's the obvious choice. And then Kana's like, how can we have Guildarts be our Guildmaster if he's never here? So obviously does. And then we cut to the brawl happening. Natsu and Elfman are like fighting, and then it gets into like Gray, and then Gray is fighting, and then Kana joins in, and then everyone else is pretty much joining in, and then Erza like stops it. She's like, everyone back to work, and everyone's like fucking terrified. Leffy's like, Erza's gonna be our 7th Guildmaster, and then she's like, what? Like, I'm gonna be the Guildmaster? And then they're like, yeah, you seem the most qualified, they don't really talk about it much. They're like, yeah, everyone seems kind of like whatever. And then we have a mysterious figure who we only saw from like the back. At first I thought it was like Jalal. I was like, is this Jalal? Like, but then they were like, we don't recognize him. And then I was like, is it Zerov? At first I was like, whoa, but then no, it was just masked appears. Then he has a fairy tale guild mark on his shoulder. And then he says, I'm glad that fairy tale is revived because you guys are the only ones that could save Makarov. And then it's done because apparently Makarov's in trouble. I don't know what kind of trouble he could be in. But, they do talk about it being temporary, so they said, oh, we'll need a temporary master until Makarov comes back. But first, I don't know, I feel like they need a change. They need someone else to be a master. Makarov can still be part of the guild, sure. He doesn't need to be master though. I mean, he wanted to give the position of master to Guildarts. He wanted to be like, I'm done, like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I mean, like I said before in my other review, I think he just really wants to get rid of the burden of Lumen Histoire. I really don't know. We still don't know what's going on there, if anyone else knows about it. Obviously, I'm sure maybe Ayers is going to find out about it, who knows, depending on how long it's going to be before they find the master, but I'm sure it's going to I feel like it's just going to jump right into it. Otherwise, this chapter was okay. I've been very meh about all these fairy tale chapters recently because everything's just, it's exactly like literally nothing's changed. I just expected things to change, I guess. No, everyone's like, oh, we're all good, we're all still fairy tale, we just had a year, and then for people to get sort of stronger, and then we're back and everything's the same, except, we just need to rebuild the guild and get Makarov back. Also, we don't know where the hell Laxus and the Raijinchu is. I don't know. No one seems to care. So, no one even, said Laxus. They weren't even like, where's Laxus? They were just, focusing on everyone else's there. So, I guess we'll find out, the next chapter. The next chapter is called Arbola's Empire. So, I don't know what that is. I guess we'll find out next week. Then that's it. Okay. Bye-bye.